Hey guys, welcome back to the shack. Tonight I'm going to do a little quick kind of tutorial, I guess you could say, for some of you guys. I've had a lot of folks asking me about cleaning their lasers. How do you clean the lens on the diode laser? And guys, first of all, there's a lot of different ways as far as the cleaners, the type materials you use to clean your laser. I mean, you can get just the stuff that I use, or you can get the really expensive stuff. You can actually get, laser glass lens cleaner, and you can get laser cloths, laser glass cleaning cloths. There's other ways. So you can substitute your cleaner and your cleaning tools however you see fit. But this is how I do mine. And I've been running my diodes for over a year on a almost production level because I do a lot of cutting. And so far, I haven't burnt through any lenses, haven't had to replace any lenses. And so if you want to do it the way that I do it, I'm going to show you exactly how I go about it. And we're going to start right here with the Atezr, but I'm going to point out some kind of commonalities between the machines. So if you'll pay attention to how I do this one, pretty much the rest of them are almost identical. So stick around. All right, guys, so to be able to do this, there's going to be a few things that you're going to need. Whatever wrenches, tools, screwdrivers, Allen wrenches that it takes to take the screws out of the head of your machine, some isopropyl alcohol, which is basically rubbing alcohol, Q-tips, or some other type of either a cleaning cloth or a cleaning swab. Now, like I said, you can spend more if you want on the materials to do it. That's your choice, but this is what I do, and this is how I do it. So I want to move the camera so that you can kind of see what's going on here. So you're going to miss me, but I want you to be able to see exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it here with the laser. So, all right, guys, one more thing that I wanted to mention. If you don't have a brush like this that came with your machine, you can use a paintbrush or any other kind of little, kind of medium bristle brush to help clean some of this dust and stuff off of it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get the module to where you can actually manipulate it. You can do this, guys, and if I'm doing a routine cleaning, a lot of times I don't try to unplug and plug this back in a lot. So I usually try to leave it connected, because the more you disconnect and connect the plug, especially on some of these machines, you increase the risk of either damaging the little clips that hold it in there, or damaging the wires where they go into there. So what I try to do is I try not to have to disconnect it. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my little brush, and these little air ducts on the back of this module, I'm just gonna kind of use this to rake through there and get as much of that stuff out of these cracks and stuff as I can. And I try to do all the dusting and so forth before I get into cleaning. That way I don't clean everything and then create dust and get dust all over it. I've got to go grab a one more tool that I didn't bring with me. All right, so this is just basically just a little skewer shish kebab stick. There's a fan in here that cools this unit, and one thing that I don't like doing is I don't like making those little fans spin really fast with compressed air. So I always try to kind of trap that fan so that it can't spin. And you don't want to use anything metal necessarily, because you could damage the fan, but I'll use this little skewer or toothpick and then just use my compressed air. You can see the debris coming out, guys. This thing is really nasty. I've been doing bamboo cutting boards. I've done like 30 or 40 of them since the last time I cleaned it, and I did that kind of on purpose so I could show you guys. All right, so that's got most of my small particulates out, or it should have. All right, and I blowed a lot of this back through here. One thing that you want to pay attention to, these little heat fins, this heat sink that is on this module is there for a reason. That is what allows the cold air to come through here from the fan, and it cools this unit. And the reason it's kind of in the shape of those little humps and those fins is that increases the surface area of the metal, which also increases the amount of heat that can be exchanged between the piece of metal and the air, because the air exchange only occurs on the surface of the material. So by using these little fins, you increase the surface area, thus increasing the amount of heat that can be dissipated. So little lesson for you there. This machine, kind of like the Atomstacks, the new Atomstack A30, the module is almost identical to this one. You have 2 screws that hold the cone on, and then these 2 screws are what holds the shield on. I've already taken the shield off of mine. I don't run the shield, so we're going to have to skip that step with mine. Undo the hose here, and then grab the appropriate Allen wrench or Allen screwdriver. You may want to make sure when you're doing this to magnetize whatever tool you're using. It comes in really handy to keep from dropping these screws. But those are actually big enough you can kind of hang on to them. And I'm going to lay this one over here on my little tray so it don't get lost in the honeycomb. Then I'm going to take this other one here and back this out. So pay attention to the way that it comes off. Typically speaking, use the hose as your reference because if you put it on wrong, the hose is not going to line up. So just use the hose as your reference when putting this on there. And I'm going to set that to the side because it is nasty and needs cleaning. Now you can see I've got a little bit of grime and stuff under here. I'm just going to take this little brush and I'm just going to kind of whisk away as much of this dust and stuff as I can that's kind of caked in there. Try to rake down these cooling fins that I can access. The compressed air will do a really good job of getting a lot of that out of there, but nothing beats old-fashioned brushes. With this machine, you can actually get down in there and get a lot of that heat sink with the brush. Careful not to damage any wiring or anything. But I'm going to take, and now I'm going to put my little stick back in here. Just kind of hold it in place with my finger. And I'm going to come in from this end now. If you don't have an air compressor, a can of air works, but of course you're not going to get the pressures that I'm getting out of that. But too much pressure can be a bad thing, so just don't go too crazy with the pressure. But I've done this enough that I'm comfortable it's not going to tear up anything. The only thing that I do try to do is I try to refrain from letting that fan spin. And these little shish kebab sticks, they're only a couple of dollars. And you get a big pack of them. They're really handy for this as well as plucking out small pieces on the engraves. And if you lose them or break them, you're not out much. All right, so now that I've got all that done, I've got this pretty well cleaned, free of dust and that kind of debris. The lens actually isn't terrible on this machine, but I did, like I said, I've run about 30 cutting boards, and there's no telling how many cuts because I've been cutting jigs out. So it definitely needs it. You can see a little, or I can see it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can see a little bit of a discoloration and kind of like a ring inside the lens. So for that, I will be using my Q-tips, which I keep in a Ziploc bag so they don't get dust or sand or anything like that on them, because you do not want to introduce sand to anything that you're going to be rubbing on this lens. So I get me a Q-tip here, and I'm just going to take my rubbing alcohol and pretty much just make sure that the Q-tip part, I want it wet. I don't want it just dripping or pouring, but I want it wet. And just take the Q-tip, and I'm just gonna basically clean this just like you would anything else. You're gonna want to make several passes just to try to get all of that debris out. And y'all saw, guys, I'm gonna show you how nasty this nozzle is in just a second, and I'm gonna show you this Q-tip because I tell people all the time, run air assist regardless. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that don't agree with me, but guys, I'm fixing to show you why I run air assist all the time. Like I said, I'm just sitting here steady, just cleaning, just rubbing, trying to make sure if there's any kind of sap or anything on there, I give it time for the alcohol to kind of loosen it up and can get it to come off on the Q-tip. So I'm going to show you the Q-tip, guys. All right, as you can see, the Q-tip has got a little bit of almost like a copper color to it, but guys, it's not really that dirty, okay? The nozzle, on the other hand, the nozzle is really, really nasty, okay? And the reason is because I run air assist all the time. So it doesn't let this work its way up to where I'm getting this from. So that would be my tip for you. Now, with this nozzle, another use for these little sticks, you can come in from the inside right here, and it's just the right size. If you've got that little buildup in the end, it'll kind of push that stuff out. And then all you got to do is really just kind of twist it a little bit, and it'll cleanse that hole out. Come in from this side, do the same thing. Just kind of put it in there and just twist it a little bit. One thing that I have noticed with this machine is this nozzle is really close to the work surface. So I'm thinking really seriously about getting rid of a little bit of this, this tip right here. So we'll see if I do that before I go back with it. But with this part here, the nozzle, the inside should be relatively clean. And I don't know if you can see, the lighting's kind of bad over here in the enclosure. But the inside is relatively clean. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Q-tip, since it's already dirty, and I'm going to use it to clean the inside of this this cone here, just to get that dust out. There's not a lot of debris in here, but I don't want to leave it in there and, you know, let it just keep building and building and building. So I'm going to show you what the inside of this cone looks like. And if I wasn't running positive air pressure, guys, I really feel like that's what my lens would have looked like. But that's what the inside of this cone looks like, okay? So people who say that the positive air pressure doesn't help, I disagree. So then I'm just going to kind of wet this thing down with a little bit of alcohol. Let it sit for a second. And this alcohol, guys, it'll evaporate, so there's no need of worrying about it. If you make a mess like I do, it'll evaporate. If you have cuts on your hands, you may want to take precautions not to get it into cuts if you don't like the sting of alcohol in your cuts. But luckily today my hands aren't cracked and I don't have a whole lot of cuts, so I'm pretty good. But I do think I am going to shorten this tip just a little. I've really been considering that, and I think the time has came. So let me get on to that right quick. All right, guys, so to shorten this tip a little bit, I don't want to cut it. It is metal. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my random orbital sander here, and I'm just going to sand it, one, to get it cleaner, and to shorten it, you know, just nothing else but just a little bit, because this thing does kind of get in the way. I don't want to go down all the way to where the air injection is. I do want to give it an opportunity to, you know, to change the direction of the air to down. But I'm just going to go ahead and this will give it a good cleaning, as well as hopefully take a little material off of it and shorten it for me. All right, guys, so the 80 grit did a pretty good job of shortening it just a little bit and getting it really clean. So mission accomplished. I do have from time to time, especially if you have a little piece of, if you have a piece of material that's got just a little bit of a bow to it, sometimes that thing can catch when those pieces pop out of the hole. And I've had that happen a couple of times, and it's not the laser's fault, it's the wood's fault. But, you know, that little bit that I took off of there, I feel like in the long run, that's actually going to help me avoid, maybe if it only saves a couple of work pieces or a couple of cuts, it's worth it. It should not affect the usability of the way it's designed. It's still below where this neck comes in. I just took, like I said, it probably isn't even a 16th off of that, just to give me a little more clearance. Plus it's nice and clean now. So there we go. So once you get it clean, you've got your lens clean. I'm going to hit it one more time with another Q-tip. It's still got a little bit of a glint right in the middle of it, and I want that guy to be clean and sparkling before I stop. So I'm going to go over it one more time with another clean Q-tip. These lenses can be replaced in the event that you need to. I actually have some extras that I purchased. My friend Steve over at Ventari's workshop, he has started selling these things in packs, and taking them off and changing them is not all that difficult. Matter of fact, I may try to clean the back side of this one. It looks like that could be on the inside. So we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take the lens cover off and show you what the inside looks like. Now, this thing unscrews from the outer part. Depending on how hard yours was placed on there, you may need to kind of get you some needle nose pliers or something to kind of hold that. But typically it shouldn't be that tight. Now, I don't like to take this off and leave it off for any length of time to allow dust or anything to get in there. But you simply unscrew on the Atezr, unscrew this outer ring right here. Once you do, the lens comes off. There's a secondary lens inside here, but I don't touch that guy, because as long as this lens is in place and as long as this lens is doing its job, there shouldn't be anything back there. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be on the outside, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe the inside just to make sure that, you know, a little bit of seepage didn't occur with the threads or anything. And it looks like, well, it looks like it's good. May have a, no chips. There was a little bit on the inside. I guess that seeped through somewhere and got in there, and that's what had that other little ring on there. So one thing you're going to want to make sure of too, guys, is make sure when you clean this, especially right in the center of that lens, don't leave any debris on there, like a little piece of the cotton. There are cotton swabs that are lint free, and if you want to buy some of those, they're not terribly expensive. But I've always had good luck with, I just hold mine up to the light like this and just get it cleaned until I can't see anything visible on there, and then we're good to go. So once you get it cleaned, you can also inspect it, put it up to the light, and see if you see any cracks, chips, or anything in the center of that lens. And if you see a chip or crack, go ahead and get you a replacement and put in there, because that crack or chip will refract the laser and will definitely kill your power, and it could even shift the laser beam to the point to where it's just going to burn the material and it's not going to cut. So tighten that back up on there, finger tight, no tools needed. I haven't had one of these vibrate off yet, so that shouldn't be a concern. With the Atezr, like I said, use the hose as a reference. That's going to tell you which way it goes back on there. Line it up in the direction in which it should be oriented. Or if you really want to, you can go ahead and make it really easy on yourself and connect the hose, and that will definitely prevent you from putting it on the wrong way, because that hose is only going to go in one specific direction. Then you're going to put your screws back in. This is a little easier. You put the screw in the screwdriver first if it's magnetized. Luckily, Atezr actually used a little more robust screws, Atezr and Atomstack, because like I said, guys, these modules, Atezr and Atomstack's modules are very similar. So pretty much either one of them, this process is going to be the same, whether it's the A20, the A30, the Atezr P20, Atezr P10. I believe all of them are going to be this exact setup, this exact process. If you have a shield and you're wanting to put your shield back on, this is the point where you would slide the shield back on there. You've got to make sure that the hose is where it needs to be. Slide the shield back on there. 2 more screws go in that holds the shield in place, and your unit's back together. And then all you got to do, guys, is take it, put it back into the dovetail, and tighten up the bolt in the back, and you're done. All right, guys, I hope this was useful. Like I said, there's other materials, other cleaners, other Q-tips, cloths, whatever, but the process is going to be the same regardless. If you can substitute 99% alcohol, 91, whatever you got, guys, the process is the same. I can tell you that the Atomstack A30, the process is identical to this one, all the way down to the screw placement and everything. So if you've got an A20, an A30, possibly even the A10, I can't say for sure, but all of those machines, the process is very similar. regardless of which machine that you have. Some of the other ones, like the Comgrow 20 watt, you have to pull the air assist tube out first, and then the nose cone just pops off. But there are some different procedures on different machines, and I'll try to make a video with each machine, and that way if you guys go looking for it, you can find it. But that's one benefit of being able to have hands on all these different machines, is that if you have a maintenance question or want a demonstration, just let me know and I'll try to work one out. So until next time, guys, as always, be safe and have a good day.